is the witching hour, of course, midnight tonight. That would begin the process under which certain parts of the government would be shut down. You might not be able to go see the Statue of Liberty, for instance, national parks, all of those kind of things. And there is the potential, if this drags on, for something like 800,000 government workers to be told, don't bother coming to work and you're not going to get paid. It's all a mess, and nobody in Washington really seems to want to do anything about it as far as I can see, except perhaps Penny Lee and Brad Blakeman. Penny, of course, is former senior advisor to Senator Harry Reid. Brad Blakeman, former deputy assistant to President George W. Bush. Great to see you both.
Good to see you.
It's good to see you, Jonathan.
And Penny, as maybe we should start with you as the former senior advisor to the man who really kind of has the next move to make. What do you think Senator Reid is planning on? He's not bringing the Senate back early when this does seem to be a rather urgent matter.
Well, I think he's bringing him in due time. I mean, he's going to be bringing him back here today at 2 o'clock, and he has signaled absolutely what he's going to be doing, which is what he has said he was going to do the last vote and the vote before last and the vote before that, which is he wants a clean CR, and he's going to ask, with the support of Republicans and Democrats, the Senate to vote on a clean CR, which is a continuing resolution that does not have any of the accessories, I guess you would say, that the House attached to it, and then put it back over to that House. It is the same bill that John Boehner had on Friday, the same bill that he had on Saturday, when he voted to add additional things that then will now cause the federal government to close down.
Brad, it does seem perfectly reasonable. I mean, if you want to have a vote on yet another vote on whether the Affordable Health Care Act should go into practice, why not do that separately? Why try to attach it to a continuing resolution when which is all about funding the government? Isn't Penny right and Senator Reid right? Let's just vote on the CR and be done with it.
No, what we should be doing is voting on budgets. The fact is this president has not been able to produce a budget. He has a constitutional duty to preserve, protect, and defend the American people. And what is most important to that is having our economic house in order. And the president has a statutory obligation to produce a budget, something he hasn't done. So when we talk about going back to the well on continuing resolutions, there's got to be some accountability to that. And Obamacare is part of it. Jonathan, we can't afford Obamacare. The president knows that. That's why he's delayed the mandate for businesses but not for individuals. So keeping the American people apprised of it's not spending more money we don't have. It's being accountable for government in its totality. And part of that is the expense of Obamacare. So I think it's perfectly reasonable to keep the Democrats' feet to the fire and not just give them the money they're asking for, but have some accountability and responsibility for the money we spend.
Penny, I can see you itching to get in, Penny. Go.
Yeah, well, I would just say that the president doesn't have the statutory obligation for a budget. That is the responsibility of Congress.
He can propose a budget.
He can propose a budget, but it is the dutiful act of Congress to actually come up. That's the statutory for them to come up with a budget. And the reason why there is no budget, House and Senate have both passed a budget. And the reason the House is refusing to put people into conference is because in the Paul Ryan budget, it needs Obamacare to be implemented, to be able to take the savings from Obamacare and put it into his own budget to make it bounce. So Republicans are refusing every step of the way to negotiate in faith and to negotiate for the benefit of the American public. So this whole notion that is just the Democrats sitting back, they have wanted to engage. If you want to amend the Affordable Health Care Act, amend it in the budget process.
But the president's
put the people in there to be able to negotiate this budget.
The president is amending. The president is amending Obamacare, has he not, by the stroke of his pen. He's telling the American people that you're on the hook individually, but businesses are exempt. Mr. President, if you want the act amended, which Republicans want, then you've got to do the same thing. You can't just amend a bill by executive fiat and direction to the agencies. You've got to follow that same process you're claiming.
And there's a process to amend it. There's a process to amend it without shutting down the government or putting the full faith of the government on edge.
Okay, so it appears that today, let's stick with what's going to happen today. It appears that the Senate will vote, as you said, Penny, that will then go back as a clean, as they call it, CR, continuing resolution, to the House. And that puts the pressure, Brad, on House Speaker John Boehner. He was talking today, this morning, about having done his work and now the pressure's on the Senate. Let's just listen to Speaker Boehner and then I'll get your reaction to it. Here's the Speaker.
The House has done its work. We passed a bill on Saturday night, sent it to the United States Senate, that would delay Obamacare for 1 year and would eliminate permanently the medical device tax that is costing us tens of thousands of jobs that are being shipped overseas. Senate decided not to work yesterday. Well, my goodness, if there's such an emergency, where are they?
Very good question, I guess, Brad. But also, you got to look at Speaker Boehner and think there's a man under a lot of pressure. I mean, all the polls seem to indicate that if there is a government shutdown, the majority of the American people will blame Republicans, will blame the Tea Party wing of the Republican Party in particular, the likes of Senator Ted Cruz. So what does Speaker Boehner do here? I mean, I wouldn't want to be in his position, would you?
Well, look, I wouldn't want to be in any of their positions. I wouldn't want to be the president. I wouldn't want to be in the Senate or the House, Republican, Democrat, because I think everybody's going to catch hell on this one, Jonathan. I don't think anybody's immune or somebody's going to get more blame than the rest if this thing actually goes to DEFCON 1 and we're shooting at one another budget-wise. But let me say this. It's not in anybody's interest for the government to shut down. There's a way out of this thing. Now, remember, if the government does shut down, we have another looming deadline, October 17th. That's raising the debt ceiling. So if the government shuts down tomorrow and there's not a global deal with a continuing resolution of the debt ceiling, this thing is going to go on for at least 17 days or more. The last shutdown went on for 21 days, and it wasn't very pretty. But I think the one thing that may get the Republicans and the Democrats in the White House in line is the markets. If the markets react badly to this and continue to react violently, I think it's going to drive all parties to the table. And the Republicans have an easy way out. If the Democrats agree to the medical device tax, that's a victory. Take the medical device tax, live to fight another day on Obamacare, and pass the CR, the debt ceiling, and move on to what really matters, and that's the battle of 2014.
How's that for a compromise, Penny? At least leave in the medical device tax. Take out the medical device tax.
Yeah, and the Senate passed it. They, in the appropriate way. They put it in their budget. They put that reform in their budget that is now sitting there and languishing now in Never Never Land. There's a responsible place to put these amendments. Putting it on the backs of shutting down the government is not responsible. And Brad knows as well as I do, when you give an inch such as that, what's the next thing that they're going to ask for? What is the next thing on the debt ceiling? What is remember this? But remember this. But remember this CR. Even this one that we're talking about only goes through November.
Of course.
So what's the ask in November? So that is a slippery slope to go down for the Democrats, for the Senate, and in the president.
Just want to get in a couple of comments from our viewers here. Lawfed says our founding fathers only wanted a part-time Congress, as they knew that the longer they were in Washington, they could not resist the urge to keep creating bills that would hurt the people. Viper Dog says, if the government shuts down, will it save money? A lot of people seem to have that view. They're so fed up with everything that they kind of think, well, shut it all down anyway. Why don't you all go away? As you sort of said, Brad, this is hurting everybody's reputation who's involved in politics, isn't it? The American people are just fed up with all of them.
Yeah, I mean, it could be in a pox on everybody's house. And look, the president on Saturday was out golfing. My U.S. Senator I saw in Old Town Alexandria in shorts and a T-shirt, and he didn't look, Senator Warner, like he was too particularly concerned. That will all change if the government shuts down, the markets react violently, and the finger pointing has got to stop. The American people, I think, are going to be really, really angry, and it doesn't matter who the representative is, whether there's an RD next to their name, they're going to be ticked off.
All right, last word to you, Penny.
I would agree that we need to be able to have people that on both sides can govern. And it's no longer about, you have now staked out your ideological claim on either side, both left and right. Now it's time to actually do what you were there to do, and that is govern.
All right, great to see you both. Penny Lee, former senior advisor to Senator Harry Reid, who will be a very busy man today, and Brad Blakeman, former deputy assistant to President George W. Bush. Great to see you both. Thanks, guys.